Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. This is our gaming news weekly wrap-up. I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and my god, we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot of interesting, cool stuff, and oh my god, we got to talk about one of the biggest muffs in the history of ARK. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. First and foremost, we're going to talk about Doom, the Dark Ages. So Doom, the Dark Ages had its biggest update, or to date so far, update number 1. And it's a major patch. Does quite a bit for the game itself. Some of the stuff that it did is adjusted the audio mix so the music and sound effects are more balanced at the regular default levels. A lot of people had issues with that and had to do some adjusting to make the sound more balanced properly for them. It also reduced the amount of time that the health drops remain active during the Atlan missions. That's those big mech missions. Sprint VFX are disabled for auto sprint now. For the Atlan itself, it reduced how long health drops linger in the world when you're in the Atlan, and it updated the Atlan combo system so that after using a finisher, the player can still use the previous one, which is good. The Atlan was a little clunky to play with, and if you listen to my review, it wasn't one of the high points of the game. I did play through an Atlan mission with these changes, and it did make a difference. The Atlan feels a little bit better, but here's where it really shined, and that's with the Dragon. The Dragon combat experience has been updated to allow players to move more swiftly through the experience. Most enemies, when faced with the Dragon, will now only fire Hell Surge projectiles, allowing for more opportunities to empower the autocannon. It felt like it was wasteful before, where you would have like 2 regular shots and then a Hellfire or Hell Surge shot, and then 2 regular. So if you missed your Hell Surge, sometimes you would spend quite a bit of time just getting to where you could take out the cannons or whatever. So I'm glad that they did that. The empowered state for the Dragon's autocannon now lasts longer, and the empowered shots from the Dragon's autocannon after a perfect dodge will go through projectile shields. So it makes the experience with the Dragon way more rewarding, a lot less aggravating, and you can get through that experience a lot quicker. It just felt so clunky before, and it really kind of dulled your experience and slowed you down. So I'm glad they did that. I feel like it made it a lot better. They updated a lot of combat encounters in different areas and stuff like that to make them a little more challenging and so forth and so on, which is cool. All kinds of little minor updates there. Did some major bug fixes too. Like I said, the audio ones. They did some ones with difficulty on Ultra Nightmare and stuff like that. One of the major ones, though, they resolved an issue in which some users could not unlock the Berserker achievement upon obtaining the necessary upgrades. And this should resolve retroactively for effective users. This is great. I'm not a platinum guy. I don't go for platinums, but I went for it on this one because this was a fairly easy platinum to get. You just had to beat the game and do a couple other little extra things. You didn't have to go hunt down 200 flowers or beat the game on super duper hard or do multiplayer crap. You just beat the game and you did a couple little extras and you had a lot of fun and you got the platinum. And of course it was bugged out for me. Now for me, it's still bugged out, and I hear that's an issue still with PlayStation. So if you are on PlayStation and it didn't update for you, they're aware that it's still an issue with PlayStation and it's not working yet. And they also fixed a couple other things. So that's the first one. I'm sure we'll be getting another one here real soon for Doom, the Dark Ages. So great game. Check it out if you haven't done so already. Next up, let's talk about Dying Light. So Dying Light 2 is the first game I featured on this channel a couple years ago when it came out. And I was a huge fan of Dying Light. It was one of my favorite zombie games at the time. And Dying Light 2, I was looking forward to it. I had it pre-ordered and all that. Boom, hit the ground running with that with the channel. Didn't know what I was doing. Those videos are just absolute garbage. If you go back and watch them, you'll laugh. They're even worse than the ones I do today, if that's possible, but they are. But in any case, Dying Light 2 did not live up to what Dying Light 1 was. And Dying Light 1 was, and still is, considered one of the best zombie games of all times, in my opinion and the opinion of many other people. The support that Techland gave for that game was phenomenal. It lasted for years and years. They, constant updates, and it was fantastic what they did. Dying Light 2 came out and it fell short. And I'll tell you my feelings on it, why I didn't like it as much was I felt like the story rambled a little too much. It wasn't as cohesive and as tight as the story in Dying Light. Maybe the world was a little too big, just a little too big. I didn't like the fact that you fought against so many humans. We fought humans in the first one, but it seemed more zombie focused, the first one. The second one seemed like it was more human focused. And when that DLC came out for it, that was human focused. I'm like, what? This is a zombie game, not a human game, So I just didn't. It never really caught me the way the first one did. I played through and I beat it. The DLC I farted around with a little bit. Didn't enjoy it. And I just kind of wandered away from it. The protagonist wasn't as interesting, I don't think, as Kyle Crane was. He was a great character. He just didn't feel as good. The setting was good. Had some interesting characters in there, but overall, definitely not as good as the first one. So, but if you bought the game and you pre-ordered it with the bundle that had the DLC, the season pass or whatever, you were promised a couple of DLCs for it. Well, they never gave us a second DLC for it. Instead, they went and they moved on to Dying Light: The Beast. So you're getting this game if you own Dying Light 2 and you bought the Ultimate Edition or whatever it was called. Check, your version of it. You're going to be getting this game for free, and I'm excited about it. You can check out the trailer and all that, but it says we're Kyle Crane again. We're going back to the original protagonist, and it says after being captured by the Baron and enduring his painful experiments for years, you escape. But the scars remain. Left on the edge of humanity with both human and zombie DNA, you struggle to control your inner beast and the conflict that comes with it. But you'll need to if you want to get your revenge on the man who did this to you. So you're half survivor, half beast. So you're a unique hero with DNA of a survivor and a beast. You switch between the two playstyles and experience a fierce inner conflict between man and monster, leading to the ultimate embrace of unstoppable strength. Very cool concept. I'm digging that. The ending of, it kind of makes one of the endings of Dying Light canon, but I like it. I like it quite a bit. Primal brutality, take the raw savagery of Dying Light's combat to the extreme and push brutality beyond human limits as you crush skulls, rip heads off, and tear enemies in half as you struggle to control our hero's constantly evolving, rage-fueled, beast-like powers. I imagine he's going to have a skill tree that not only with his weapons and stuff like that, survivor skills, but also for his beast-like skills, which is kind of cool. I'm going to like that. So own the day, fear the night, a signature of the Dying Light series, of course, is the two vastly different experiences, a day and night, as they merge into one unforgettable whole, scavenge and explore by day, mindful of the constant tension of the moving clock. It's when the sun sets, the night unleashes horrors that leave you with only three choices: run, hide, or fight for your life. And we all remember the first Dying Light, when you come across your very first volatile, how absolutely terrifying that was. And it didn't get much better. Now, Dying Light 2, again, that was another thing. The nights weren't as scary. They got better. They did make some improvements for it. I will give them credit. Techland did a lot to improve the game through time on Dying Light 2. So, I'm not crapping all over the game. I'm not crapping on Techland at all. It didn't hit for me. And by the time I got away from it, I was done. And I really don't feel much of an urge to go back. Now, we are expecting a 10-year anniversary update for the original Dying Light with, I guess, they're modernizing it and improving all the graphics for it and the textures and all that. Maybe the FPS. And when that comes out, I'm probably going to do another playthrough of Dying Light, and that might inspire me to go back to Dying Light 2 and give it another shot. With the tower raids and all that now and some of the changes they've made, it's a bit of a different game. It could be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. But the Beast, I'm interested in. Anyway, so it says run the rooftops, rule the roads. So this one also has a vehicle in it, which is kind of neat. So it kind of harkens back to Dying Light The Following. The Following was the DLC for the original Dying Light, which took you out of Haran and put you into like the farmland nearby, and you had a car, like a little buggy you could run around in. So this one also has vehicular combat, it looks like, which is kind of neat. And I guess there's a pre-order bonus, the Hero of Haran. So if you've already signed up and got, like I said, the Ultimate Edition of Dying Light 2, I imagine this is pre-ordered for you. I'm going to have to check and verify that, but it gives you some cool stuff, including an outfit, Caster Woods Patrol, which is a type of vehicle, a gun, a crossbow, and a knife, which is kind of neat. So this looks like it's coming in September, I believe. No, August. I'm sorry. They're saying it's August 22nd, so that's kind of neat. So we're looking for that. They said it would come out in the summer, and that's still technically the summer toward the end of it. So we're looking forward to that immensely. Now, something else I learned about just recently, another great game, is going to be Jurassic World Evolution 3. Now, Frontier's been putting these games out on a regular basis, and this one's coming out just the following month in October. Looks like October 21st. So it says, help life find a way this October in Jurassic World Evolution. So if you've checked out the first two, they're great games. They're basically park builders. It's Roller Coaster Tycoon or Zoo Tycoon or whatever, but with dinosaurs, that type of game. And it's kind of neat because, you've got all the facilities in there and all that, but you have the additional dinosaurs as display creatures and all that. And that's the main attraction. You don't really have rides like you do in other games, although you do have tour type rides, and they've gotten better throughout the first two games. And it looks like there's going to be even more in this one, like the little train that takes you around to see stuff and all that, or the balls, I forget what they were called, the gyrospheres, that you saw in Jurassic World. So you had those type of things and different draws. You could sell food, sell t-shirts and drinks and that kind of stuff to make money and turn a profit. And you had to have bathrooms and you had to have this and that and bunkers in case the dinos got loose. So it was pretty wild and pretty interesting stuff here. But yeah, they're excited to announce their next entry into the critically acclaimed Jurassic World Evolution franchise. The new thing they're bringing to it this time is they're bringing in juvenile dinosaurs, a comprehensive breeding system, and modular building to the dinosaur parks for the very first time. So that's kind of neat, man. They never had the breeding before. You would have dinos that you would put into your park, and and you'd breed them up and all that, or not breed them up, but you'd grow them in your Hammond lab or whatever, and put them out there, and eventually they would die, and you would need to replace them and all that. So now we're going to have juvenile dinos, and they're going to be breeding up and all that. So you might be able to actually create a sustainable park, which is kind of neat, right? I like that idea quite a bit here. But they're telling us there's going to be over 80 different species to raise, manage, and care for. 70 of them can breed and nurture their own family units, each with distinct female, male, and juvenile variants. That's kind of neat to be able to tell the difference between a male and a female. I mean, I imagine some dinos that would be fairly easy to do, but I didn't realize that would be so easy on all of them. So that's kind of cool. Of course, we're still going to have the land creatures, the flying creatures, the aquatic creatures, and all that. It should be kind of awesome. There's going to be new decorations and statues and that kind of stuff. So this is looking that it's going to be fantastic. They're talking about an epic globetrotting campaign, and of course, chaos is always a big part of this, controlling the chaos. So if you're one of those park building type guys that likes those kind of games or those sim manager type games, this one's a lot of fun. The previous two were fantastic. Had a lot of fun with those. And, this might be worth checking out. And if you like dinosaurs, well, here you go. Ark Survival Evolved's fun, Ark Survival Ascended's great and all that with the dinosaurs, but this one looks like it could be fun, but in a completely different way. But man, there's still more coming up, man. Resident Evil Requiem. This one's not coming out till 2026. Looks like February, toward the end of February, a little bit after my birthday. I'll be 56 when this thing comes out. Holy cow. So not a lot about this yet, but it's the 9th title in the mainline Resident Evil series, and it says to prepare to escape death in a heart-stopping experience that will chill you to the core. A new era of survival horror begins in 2026. Technological advancements combined with the development team's depth of experience combined in a story with rich characters and gameplay that's more immersive than ever before. And it's pretty creepy looking. I watched the trailer through. Looks like we've got a new main character. People were speculating it was going to be Leon Kennedy and all that. And I don't really recognize this girl. I've played a lot of Resident Evil through the years, but not all of them. I missed like some of the non-mainline ones, like it was a Code Veronica and some of the other ones. But for the most part, I played them. I played 1, 2, 3, 4. I played 7 and 8. Anyway, this character looks interesting. Should be. I only played a little bit of 8. I never finished 8. I got to get through and finish 8. I come to think of it. But this looks interesting. It looks like it's set in a hotel or something like that, and maybe you're going to be able to play through some flashback sequences and all that based on what I saw. But completely crazy looking game. So always looking forward to a new Resident Evil game. They're a lot of fun. It's been kind of a reliable, for the most part, series throughout history. There have been some misses along the way, but for the most part, they've been hits. And let me tell you, the remakes have been fantastic for the most part. So I'm hoping to see after this maybe a new remake announced, like 0, 1, one of those two maybe. That would be awesome. But what else we got coming out new? First Light from IO Interactive. This is a new James Bond game that's coming out. Can't remember the last time a James Bond game came out. Was that GoldenEye maybe? But this is neat. It's kind of a step back to the beginning of Bond's career, which is an interesting choice and one I thoroughly approve of. These are the guys that gave us the Hitman franchise. So this is very, very appropriate for them to have this IP, to take some of that knowledge and what they do with Hitman. You could easily apply it to a James Bond game. What does Hitman do? Hitman puts you in exotic locations all over the world. You've got to explore and be stealthy in different situations. You're very often dressed up in a nice suit or whatever. You're blending into society. You're killing people in discreet ways and escaping. It's very interesting. This is going to be a very interesting marriage of an IP and a developer, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more about this. They're using their own Glacier engine, and the footage I saw looks pretty good. The characters are maybe a little dated looking and all that, but I think the scenery itself looks fantastic and all that. Again, this could be some earlier footage. I'm not sure exactly how far along it is, but I'm hoping for some good things about this. I'm a fan of Bond and all that, so it should be kind of neat to see this, and see how this comes out. Let me know what you guys think about Bond, and do you think this is something that's going to be successful in the future here? I'm loving it, though. But now we got to go back in time. 10 years ago, No Man's Sky came out, roughly 10 years ago. And they just put out a new update. Sean Murray, we talked about it last week with his little bacon. So it turns out it wasn't Kevin Bacon joining the game. No stealthy stuff like that. It was about the beacon. It was Beacon. And this is about settlements. It's basically upgrading the settlements. This is the 5.7 upgrade. And it makes sense it came out in time for the Switch 2. So that's fantastic. And it's an upgrade to the settlement system, which is really, really neat. You're going to be able to oversee multiple settlements now, which is kind of neat. It says to govern your settlers wisely and invest in their infrastructure. You're going to have historical records. You can review a history of your settlement's accomplishments and statistics achieved throughout your tenure. Improved record keeping now documents your influence on your citizens' happiness, the number of sentinel attacks successfully repelled, new infrastructure constructed, and more. There's going to be pyrotechnic spectacles, significant events in the settlement, including festivals, new citizens, successful expeditions, building construction, and more. They're going to prompt the settlers to celebrate with fireworks in the town center. That's kind of cool. You get a lot of fireworks in this game from different events and all that, so I'm hoping that you can kind of influence these things maybe by giving them some of these fireworks. I don't know, or maybe it's just going to be generically done. But it'd be kind of cool if you could influence them by giving them the fireworks that you have, that you've won on expeditions or whatever. That would be fantastic. It says there's also autophage settlements. You can discover rare autophage settlements, which are populated by secretive robotic life forms and assembled from scrap and crystal, which is awesome. You can inspect building details. There's new materials available. There's weathered and rusted materials. So that's kind of cool. And the management system's way deeper now. A lot more choice, a lot more depth to it. Every building now has its own calculated contribution to the happiness, population, and the productivity of the settlement. And this is going to make your construction choices more important than ever. And the settlers themselves are going to have personalities, which is kind of cool. So that's something else to look forward to. Now, one thing I always found strange with this was the citizen dilemmas when they come to you with an issue and all that. It always felt very ambiguous with like what choice you made with that. And now it says that they've done some improvements on that. Citizen disputes are going to be completely reworked and expanded, removing that ambiguity from the scenarios and presenting the overseer with a wider pool of resolutions. Before it was always like A or B, and you're always like, well, I don't really have enough information to make a valid choice here. I guess I'll do A, or I guess I'll do B. It always felt like you were just kind of rolling the dice on this. So I feel like this is going to be much better. It's going to determine your own moral stance on the quarrels of your citizens, or you can find them all if if you feel like everybody's at fault. And you'll be able to customize your settlement, upgrade buildings to higher classes of them. Autophage settlers are going to be a thing. Squadrons are going to be able to defend your settlers. All kinds of neat stuff coming on. Even fishing within the settlements. You're going to have pools, I guess. Settlement fishing ponds, which are kind of cool. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with this. These guys with Hello Games do it once again. So, kudos to them. One of the greatest developers of all times, in my opinion, man. These guys just cannot stop stacking up the wins. Speaking of L's turn to W's, we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 right now. And fans think that a second DLC might be in development. Now, recently they announced that there is going to be a second Cyberpunk 2077. Like, we didn't know that, and it's actually under the working title right now is Cyberpunk 2. But fans believe that their company Virtuous is developing a second DLC. And the reason for that is CD Projekt Red is the main development team for Cyberpunk 2077. The Polish-based studio recently partnered with Virtuous to assist in the development of Update 2.2, which brought some brand new features to the RPG. But now some users are speculating that Virtuous could be actively developing more content for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, we all remember the controversial launch it had about 5 years ago, but CD Projekt Red regained the trust of its fans just by improving the game and fixing it little by little. Kind of like what Sean Murray did with No Man's Sky. They added new features, content, and now the RPG is considered to be one of the all-time greats. It's got a very positive rating on Steam with almost 750,000 reviews, and the studio went on to receive even more praise from fans when it released a critically acclaimed Phantom Liberty DLC a couple years back. That was a huge update. I think that was the 2.0 update too, if I remember right. But that was huge, man. That came out perfect from what I understand. I mean, I played Cyberpunk upon release, and while it wasn't perfect, I didn't have a horrible experience with it. I was playing on a PlayStation 4 Pro. I had pulled out my hard drive on that and replaced it with an SSD, so maybe that made it slightly better for me than it did for other people on PlayStation. I understand a lot of people on PlayStation found the game to be unplayable. I didn't find it unplayable, but it definitely didn't live up to all the hype, But yeah, they did fix it and they made it better and better. And I finished the game. I found it to be a fascinating game. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, in December 2024, development studio Virtuous assisted with upgrading and reworking the UI for Cyberpunk's 2.2 update. Now some are speculating that the studio is continuing to work on the title due to information discovered on the developer's LinkedIn page. As spotted by Reddit user Free Carpenter 151, a senior writer for Virtuous has listed Cyberpunk 2077 DLC under their experience, but the developer only seems to have joined Virtuous in April 2025, 2 years after Phantom Liberty's release. The developer states that they analyzed existing Cyberpunk 2077 character voices to inform writing their dialogue in multiple new side quests, and coordinated with the narrative design to conceive, write, and polish side quests for upcoming DLC releases. So this is only speculation at this point. We're not sure what's going on with this. Personally, I don't think we're going to be seeing another DLC. CD Projekt Red said there'd only be one and they'd be done. But things might change. Who knows? Maybe Phantom Liberty was so successful that they want to do some more. I mean, there's always, you don't ever want to leave money on the table, especially as a company like this. And you've already got a successful game out there. It's highly acclaimed. If you've got the ability to put out something else and extend the life of this game, why not do that, right? So we'll see what happens with that. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen, but hey. Something else big happened this week, and that was the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. Now, this has been, I've heard a lot of good about it. A lot of people are loving it and all that. I'm seeing some people are putting some hate out there saying that it's been a mixed reception. And, I think the main thing that is mixed about it is the price. A lot of people are balking at the price of it. And I get it. It's pretty pricey for what it is. It's the price of a major console, and it's a little handheld basically. But it is what it is. It's Nintendo. Nintendo does what Nintendo does. Now, the big problem I have with Nintendo is the fact that they upped their prices to $80 on games, and then $90 for the physical copies of them, $80 for the digital copies, and $90 for the physical. And then almost immediately, Microsoft followed suit on Xbox. And that sucks, because now you're setting a trend in the industry. And, in addition to that, Microsoft jumped up the prices of their hardware and all that. And then PlayStation followed suit by putting things on sale, which is kind of funny. It's been a bloodbath this generation between PlayStation and Xbox. Xbox has really just crapped the bed over and over again. But what they're doing right is they're releasing their games on the PlayStation now, and they're making money off of PlayStation players who are buying these games. We may see the end of Game Pass here in the next 3 or 4 years if things don't turn around. We've seen so many studios close, even ones that have put out fairly successful games under the Xbox banner. I just don't see how sustainable it is on a subscription service. Now granted, if you have a lot of people that are subscribed and, renewing every year and you keep upping that price, well, yeah, it might be sustainable, but you have a lot of people that game the system too. But they did rework things lately, but anyway, we're way off subject here. But anyway, so yeah, the Switch 2 came out, and let me know if you got one. Let me know if you're getting one. It's very pricey. I promised the boy to get one if he got all A's and B's. Unfortunately, not to air dirty laundry, he fell short, so he didn't. So maybe first quarter of his ninth grade year, we'll revisit that offer and see what happens, because I know he really, really wants one. But, that's a lot of money to drop, and you got to earn it. So, yeah, that's it on that. Let's talk about Ark. Survival Ascended. So, before we go anywhere else, we'll talk about their Community Crunch, where they gave us some free Power Rangers bonus content, but only if you bought the previous bonus content that they put out that cost money. Other than that, it's been not much on the Community Crunch. But the 5.5 update came out this week. It was scheduled to come out, I think it was Monday. They delayed it till Tuesday to Wednesday, and it finally came out Thursday. And let me tell you something, this has been typical wild card. It's just been a complete and utter disaster the entire week. And it's a shame. These guys really just don't get it. They really don't get it. And it's disheartening. I went, I shut down my entire cluster because I play, and I'm going to be fair here. My cluster has mods on it, so I didn't expect everything to be working right away with mods. And I've got quite a few mods from different mod authors and all that. Some of them are fairly big. Stuff that affects a lot of things, like the B+ mod, the B+ structures mod. That affects multiple things throughout the game. So I don't expect these mods to be up and running right away. But, but it's just been such a mess. I went to start up a test server today, and I put on all the mods that we normally use just to try that. Or yesterday, I should say. Yesterday I did that. It's today I'm filming it. And I couldn't get it to work, So yeah, I was caught in this endless loop of the mods trying to update. Every time I tried to log into the server, it would tell me they were updating. I'd log in. It would tell me they were installing. It would install. It would get to a certain point. Then it would stop. It would tell me joining failed. I did it again. I did it several times, and I finally backed out of that. I went actually into the mods, and I went in and manually updated and installed the mods from the mod page itself inside the PlayStation, one at a time. Got them all done. Went back, went to rejoin the server, and the same thing happened. It started to do the install again. And it was very frustrating because it just looped me out again. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to try again after I film this. Maybe I'll be allowed in by then. Who knows? But it was just a total botch. Totally frustrating. The delays are insane. These guys really have to get it together. I don't know why they set dates. I honestly don't. Ragnarok's supposed to be coming up in a couple weeks. I have zero faith it's going to be on time. And when it does come out, I have zero faith that it's going to work. But we'll see. They ought to stop just giving us dates and just tell us, get it together, make something that works, put it through the different processes to get it approved for PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and all that. Get it certified. And when it does get certified, then say, hey, tomorrow we're dropping this, and then drop it. People will be happy. You will take a pissed off fan base and make him happy by doing something simple like that. And that it's simple. Just look at the fan base for No Man's Sky. This is what Sean Murray does. He posts an emoji, and a couple days later, something comes out. That's it. It's so freaking simple. And this is a fan base that was demanding their money back when the game first came out. So, whatever. So, yeah, that's Ark this week, man. Not much. I can't really do any live streams for it. I don't know if tonight there's going to be a live stream on Ark. We'll see. It might just be on the Astraeus map on my test server, which I'm going to keep, by the way. I'm going to put it dormant when there's nothing going on, but from now on, whenever there's a big update, I'll have this server set aside that I can just fire up and we can test things out on, see how things go. But anyway, that's it. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. This is a big one today. I'm sorry about that, but leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. We'll see you next time. Until then, peace.